Hi guys, it's Pete from MyJewelryBench.com. Today we're going to cover the replacement of the case tube and crown on this lady's Rolex watch. And let's just move the light over so we can get some better lighting on this. Let me explain to you what's happened. So over time, the crown, which is made of brass with an 18 karat gold overlay, has gotten to the point now where we just can't screw it down. And there's a reason that happens. There's actually several reasons. Let's just take a look at the junk that's kind of gunked up in the case and in the band. So what happens is over time, dirt and debris work its way into the crown and the stem and into the case tube. And as you tighten it down, it wears down the threads mostly on the inside of the crown, and then the crown will have to be replaced. Sometimes guys like to crank down and tighten this crown down as hard as possible. You don't have to do that. If your gaskets are good, and you should have them checked, if your gaskets are good, you should just be able to hand tighten this, and the seal will work its way into position and seal the watch correctly. Over tightening it will actually strip away the threads on the inside of the crown and ruin the crown itself. We can't just replace the threads on the inside of the crown. The entire crown has to be replaced, and that's an expensive part. So I want you to keep that in mind. You don't need to over tighten this. What we're going to do is we're going to take the movement out of this. We're going to replace the case tube on the case. We're going to replace the crown on the stem, and that should give this customer another 30 years of use and abuse of this particular watch. Hopefully she'll take better care of it. I'm going to give her a little sheet on how to maintain it. So the first step is we've got to get some of this gunk off of the watch, and I am going to grab an old towel here, just put that down, and I am going to start getting some of this stuff off of the watch. Got a nylon brush, and that should work well to get some of this off. It's not going to damage the stainless steel or mark the watch, but it should get through most of the dirt. And then once I get most of the dirt off, I'll feel a little more comfortable opening up the watch so that I don't have to worry about dirt and debris getting into the watch itself. All we're doing today is the case tube and the crown on this particular watch. It is working really good. It's not losing any time or gaining any time, so I don't feel as though it's ready for a service. I believe it was serviced about 4 years ago. I think this customer wears this watch 24/7. And that's probably why we have so much debris on it. Okay, that's done. I'm going to open up the watch and take the movement out. On this particular model, there are 2 screws that you have to tighten down to release the watch from the case. And there's one on either side of the movement. What we do is we turn those clockwise. And just bear with me as I'm working over the camera. Turn those clockwise, and now the movement's actually loose. And then I'll pop the stem and the crown out of the watch. And there's a little pusher right here, and you just gently push down very lightly, and the crown and stem should come right out of the watch, just like so. With that done, I can turn the movement and align let's get this turned over here. I can align one screw up with the stem opening, and by doing that, it'll release the movement from the watch. That watch again is clean, so I'm just going to put that aside. And now I'm going to see if I can get this on film and show you what it looks like inside this particular crown. And if you look carefully, you can see, I'm going to try to hold this steady. If you look carefully, you can see that the threads are slightly worn on that crown. And again, that's from over tightening and some dirt. You can see there's a lot of dirt and debris in there, so we have to replace that. Before I actually pull the case tube out, this case tube will come out with a case tube remover. but I want to throw this in the cleaner and then make sure the watch case is actually clean before I remove that case tube. So let's get that going here. Okay, so here you can see the benefits of having an ultrasonic cleaner. I've put this in the cleaner. We've cleaned all the debris off of the watch, and it is pretty clean. What we need to do now is remove this case tube. The first part of removing any case tube is to get the gasket out. So I'm going to use a small screwdriver, and I'm just going to gently lift out the gasket that is in the original case tube. It'll take a little prying and work. We're going to get that right out of there. There's the original. We'll just put that aside. And now we have to use a tool to get that out. So I believe this is the correct size. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is the tool that you need, and they come in different sizes. These are for different size Rolex case tubes. And you can see it's threaded. And what that does is it snaps into the grooves on the inside of the case tube, just like so. And then what you're going to do is gently unscrew it. And if all goes well, you should be able to see the entire case tube unthread from within the case itself. Just like that. Okay, so far so good. I can take that old case tube and put that aside. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so now I've got this all cleaned out and we are ready to insert the new crown or the new case tube for this. And how that works is this. I'll show you in a second here. We have the new case tube here. If I can get this out of my little tin. So here's our new case tube. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. That new case tube gets this washer applied to the underside of it. So the washer would go on like so. And we're just going to gently push that down so that it seals there. Okay, here's our new crown. And the new crown, here's the old crown, the new crown. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the stem off of this, and I'll get to that in a moment. So I'm going to put that aside. But I really want to get this case tube stuck in the watch. So the next thing I have to do is add some sealant to this. And I'm just going to put a little drop on it. If I can get it to come out. There it is. A couple little drops on either side of it. And put that back down. Now that that's on there, I know I'm going to make a good seal on the watch itself. And of course we've got our washer, and that's a crush washer, just like we use on a car. And what we want to do now is get this situated onto our tool. Now this tool, you can get these at most suppliers. They are not inexpensive. You are going to, if you're going to do repairs like this, you're going to be making a little bit of an investment in your tools, so keep that in mind. So I've got the case tube on the case tube tightener, and now I'm going to insert that into the case and just give this a little bit of a twist. And I'm going to do this on camera so you can see it. So the case tube is installed. We'll take our old crown, we'll put that on, and it wants to thread, but this crown is so destroyed that unfortunately not much I can do with it. Okay, so now that the case tube is installed and tightened up, we can put our tool away and move on to the next section, which is to work on the new crown. And what we have to do now is take the old crown, if I can get this to focus, we have to take the old crown off the stem. I apologize if I get the focus out of whack. I'm going to work on that. So what I want to do now is grab the crown, or grab the stem, and I want to unloosen it from the crown And it should be a little bit on the tight side, but it will unscrew, and there it comes right off. And there's our old crown, and we're going to put that aside. Now we're going to grab our new one, and we're going to tighten that up onto the stem. Okay. And now our pusher crown works good. And to test this, we're going to put this on the watch. And I'm going to thread it down, and you can see now it threads perfectly. And if I unscrew it, we're good. So this crown, it's new, it's got a good gasket on it. The last thing I need to do before I put the watch in is to replace the gasket that goes inside the case tube. Now, got to be careful with these. I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm just going to grab that gasket, and I'm going to put it right on top, just like so. So it's just sitting on the top surface. I'm going to take my finger and I'll push down, and that wedges it in place. So now the gasket is nice and tight inside our case tube. And then to test this, it should be a nice tight fit once we get it through there. And there'll be some friction, and you'll feel it once you get the new gasket in. And then of course we're going to just give it a quick tightening, make sure that that works perfect, which it does. Okay, I'm going to pull this stem out. Voila. The last thing I need to do is put the watch back together, put that back in the case, and then we can bring this back to our customer. And now I'll tighten up these two screws. And again, remember, to tighten the movement back into the case, we are going to loosen these, or tighten, or turn them counterclockwise. I'm trying to do this with the camera, and it's a little awkward. There we go. And now we'll go to the second one. And that's done. And now we can just clean the back cover off just a little bit. And there you have it. New crown, new case tube, new gasket. Everything's good on this particular watch. So guys, just remember, you don't need to tighten these crowns down so far that they're almost impossible to take off. Just because you tighten it as tight as you can does not necessarily mean that you're not going to do any damage to this. You just want to get them tight so they stop turning, and don't try to crank it. Don't use a pair of pliers or something on there to make it any tighter. Tighter is not necessarily better. The rubber gaskets are making a good waterproof seal on these. So I'll go test this. We'll put the band back on and bring it back to the customer. I hope that this helped you. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel, and stay tuned because I do release videos once or twice a week. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.